Hey, Orion's Angel here, and today I'm going to talk about the Atari 5200 system. Now, this is going to come from a person who owned the system, so you'll get a little bit more details than most people would tell you about Atari 5200, about what it was like owning this system. Now, this system was we had the Atari 2600, and it was getting old, and we knew that Atari 5200 and ColecoVision were coming out. So my siblings and I got together and we started talking what system we should buy. Should we buy the ColecoVision or the Atari 5200? I wanted ColecoVision at first because Donkey Kong looked amazing at the time on ColecoVision. To me it looked like a perfect arcade port. Of course it's not. It's very close for the time, certainly much better than the 2600 version. But then my other sibling told me about Pac-Man, how it looked on Atari, and I was like, oh wow, that looks really great. And then eventually we went with Atari because, well, Atari, we really loved the 2600, so we went with the Atari 5200. So we bought it at Sears and brought it home. It came with the pack-in game of Super Breakout. Soon after that, we bought Pac-Man. So we really enjoyed the system. We had some good times with it, and what was wonderful about it was the arcade ports were great at the time. Pretty darn close to the arcade. Now, this system, of course, has a reputation because of the terrible controllers, and yes, the controllers were bad. Even though I like them in terms of using them, I thought it was very, it felt good in the hand, and using your right hand for the analog stick was good. You had the start, pause, and reset buttons, which were something new then, and installing the system was pretty easy. Yes, it's true there was a spark. I once made one of my friends dare to put his tongue on that. You know, where if you connect the connector of the Atari 5200, there's a spark when you connect it. I made him touch it with his tongue and he got a shock. So that was funny, you know. You dare someone to do something and, well, he's the kind of person that would do it. But yeah, we had some like I said earlier, some great times with this, but yeah, the controllers were pretty bad. Let's get into that. There it is, the notorious Atari 5200 controller. What I liked about it were the buttons on the side, even though they were squishy. The control of the analog stick felt nice. You had the numeral buttons, which were for the overlays. They were not, it's not a telephone. You put overlays over those numbers, which it's similar to, if you know about the Intellivision, had a similar thing going on. That was sort of a big thing back then because some of the games had a lot of buttons, and you know you couldn't put that many buttons on these controllers. So I mean, you could put all those numeral buttons, but then you needed the overlays to tell the player, you know, what you have to do for each game. But I always remember, see where it says the Atari 5200 name on the silver in the middle? Every time we would get a new controller, and we got a lot of new controllers for Atari because we had to keep rebuying this controller. I used to love peeling the, you know, when you peel that clear sticker off. I just remember doing that so many times. It was like, ooh, it's new, the controller. But let's check out those overlays. So here are some of the overlays you would connect to the Atari 5200 controller. Some of these I don't even remember. Like, I didn't know there was one for Mario Brothers. We had that game, and I don't even remember it coming with that game. So yeah, that's interesting. And I don't remember the Jungle Hunt one either, or I don't remember a lot of these. I don't know if we threw them away or what, but they're actually pretty cool. I don't even know if some of these ever came out. This might have just been for the advertising. Here's the one for Rescue on Fractalus. Those would control the thrusting, the level. You could press to have a demo. So you get the point. It was not like a telephone like some people claim in videos. You could also put overlays on the back of the cart when you're not using them, so that was really cool. Also, the carts at the bottom were protected by dust protectors, which was pretty much like a new thing back then. At least I had never seen them until that point. Another thing I hear like the younger generation when they talk about Atari 5200 is most of them don't have any idea what the compartment in the back of the Atari 5200 is for. Well, it's actually to store the controllers. You wrap the cord around the analog stick and then you put them face down, and it's a nice little storage thing for them. Okay, now let's talk about why these controllers broke and what it was like. So you use these controllers, and for about the first week, maybe 2 weeks, they're pretty good. Everything's working fine, playing all your games. Then some of the buttons stop working, like the side red buttons, they just stop working. You have to press down really hard and they won't work anymore. Then the start, pause, reset buttons kind of don't start working. You got to press them really hard. Now, one solution I had was to take them apart, and I would get the circuit board for the buttons, the contact buttons on the circuit board for the buttons, and I would get a quarter or a penny and scratch them. And that's what I would do. I would scratch them, and then the buttons would, for a little bit, work again, and everything would seem fine, and I was like, oh, I fixed them. But no. The next thing that would start to happen is, you see the rubber part at the bottom of the analog stick that goes around in circles? That would start to tear. It would get a tear, and then the tear would get worse until eventually you're just forced to rip it out. So now you have an analog stick and you can see the little metal bar. So that would happen. Then the next thing that would happen is the analog stick would break. It would get all loose. It would just go all over the place. And once that happened, it was pretty much over. The controller just wouldn't work right again, and that was it. You would try to play the games, but it was just, you couldn't anymore. The buttons stopped working. The thing was just awful. So what you would do is you would go to the store, buy a new controller, and you would go to the store, and it would be about, I think at the time it was like 15 bucks for a new controller, and which seemed like a lot of money back then. And then once again, you start the whole process again. But for some reason, every time I bought it, I was like, this time it's going to be different. They probably made the controller better now, and it's going to work now. No, it didn't. Then it would break again, and you'd buy it again, and this kept happening until finally I bought one of those third-party controllers, and the Wiko sticks you've seen around. But that was a pain because some of the games needed extra buttons. So the controller sucked and really doomed this system. Now, as the 5200 was out and ColecoVision was out, the crash happened, the big video game crash. A lot of people blame ET, but actually I was there, and I think it more had to do with Pac-Man that the Atari 2600 crashed. They really made a lot of yes, they made a lot of ET cards, but they also made a lot of Pac-Man cards, and we returned our copy of Pac-Man for Atari 2600 because, well, you know, it's a really bad game, and everyone was returning it, so everything just went into the dumps, and the video game crash happened. And at this point, I was sad because I still love the video games. So I couldn't use the Atari 5200 because the controller broke, and I didn't have any money, and that was it. But what I would do is I would put Atari 5200 games on and just watch them and pretend or imagine that I'm playing them. Yeah, that sounds sad. We also had a Commodore 64, which was my other siblings, and we had two carts for it, Donkey Kong and Q*bert. So I would play that, and that was kind of, that would give me my fix a little bit. But I forgot what happened. Our 5200 broke, our original one, and my parents surprised me and bought me a new Atari 5200. This one had two ports, controller ports. It was the newer model. One of my siblings got angry that my parents bought me this, so they bought her a Cabbage Patch doll, and it's a long story. But anyway, I had the Atari 5200 again, and I bought, what games did I buy? Oh, Galaga, because I think it was like $9 at Sears, or was it Sears? I think it was a store called National actually sold it next to Pathmark. I don't know if you remember that supermarket. There's that game, and there was another game that was still, I don't know why they had like loads of, no, it wasn't Galaga, it was Galaxian. What am I talking about? Galaxian. They had like tons of copies of Galaxian. And I forgot what other game it was, but they had tons of copies of that game too. Oh, Rescue on Fractalus, and oh, I can't remember the name. Oh, Ball Blazer. There it is, Ball Blazer. And so yeah, I got Ball Blazer and Rescue on Fractalus and Galaxian. And this is like 1985 or 84, 85, around there. And so I had that, and that was enough at the time, like a little fix, but they would get boring quickly. But Ball Blazer was a two-player game, so if my siblings weren't around, you couldn't really play it. And Rescue on Fractalus was an interesting title. It very ambitious for the time. You're in a spaceship and you land on a planet. They actually show you land on the planet, and I believe it had one of the first jump scares, which just scared the crap out of me. Where the idea of the game is you have to land and rescue. You have to rescue people or fellow astronauts, and sometimes, well, you'd see the astronaut coming to the ship, and he would get in, and then sometimes you'd see a green astronaut come in. It's going to be an alien, and what would happen is the alien would pop up, and it would scare the crap out of you. First time it happened, I almost fell out of the chair. I did not see it coming, the way they do it. But what was interesting, and here's the jump scare part, what the game would do, which is pretty innovative at the time. Sometimes the astronaut wouldn't be green. He would be normal looking, like a normal astronaut coming at the ship, and you're like, oh, okay, it's not the alien, but it was the alien. And I knew that could happen at one point because it had already happened. So every time it would happen, I would look away from the screen and look down. Yeah. So yeah, I believe that's one of the first, if not the first, jump scare in a game. So then, of course, Nintendo showed up with the NES and basically changed the course of history. Video games came back. I first saw it because a neighbor had it and was very impressed because I really thought video games were over. So it was great that video games were back. And but that's a story for another time. Okay, let's talk about the Atari 5200 games now. Now, like I said earlier, the Atari 5200 did some amazing arcade ports at the time. Some were very close to the arcade. First of all, Berzerk. Love that opening on the Atari 5200 with the logo and the flashy lights. Always love that. Now, this had voice, which was a pretty big deal back then. I think Intellivision also had voice with the B-17 bomber, I think. B-17 bomber. It was like a adapter, but that you had to add like an adapter to the system. You didn't have to do that here with Atari 5200. The voice was on the card itself. Now, as you can see, this is a pretty close arcade port. This game was simple but fun. Of course, there comes Evil Otto. Now you can't, no matter what, you can't destroy him, so don't even try.
The humanoid must not escape.
Now, of course, they start shooting. If you notice, oh no. If you notice, oh man, he's gonna get me. Leave me alone. Man, it's gonna be close. If you notice, when you kill enemies, their exploding bodies are Otto's face. Watch when I kill one, you're gonna see that it's Evil Otto's face for like a split second. Oh, leave me alone. Thankfully, he always comes out from the opposite end, but... So that's Berzerk. A great arcade port. Centipede. That's another really good arcade port. Especially the sounds. You'll see the Centipede logo now leave. I guess that was supposed to mimic a centipede, but I don't know. But yeah. You can hear the sounds are amazing in this game. Sound just like the arcade. And that spider is still as annoying as ever. Apparently in this game you're supposed to be an elf with a magic wand. And we're supposed to be seeing it all happening from a top view. Yeah, and it goes on like that. Colors change. That's a great game. What's next? Oh, Dig Dug. This is another good, pretty good arcade port. These were pretty remarkable at the time because this was at the arcade, but yet here you were playing it in your house, and it was pretty close. Game's always been fun. It's an interesting concept. Pretty innovative at the time because I can't even think any game that's like this in the 80s, an arcade game where you have to blow up enemies by inflating them. Yeah, good game. Another good one. Oh, by the way, I'm using the CAT 5200 emulator, which in my opinion has the best CRT shader of any emulator. It really looks like a TV screen. Because I used to play this in the 80s on a CRT, and I have to tell you, the CRT shader in this emulator is pretty amazing. Here's Defender. Once again, I keep saying it, but this system did great arcade ports. Oops, used my smart bomb. This game is very hard. I used to watch older kids in the arcades do amazing at this game, and I don't know how they did it. They would not get hit, and they were going through all the firing and aliens, and I don't know how they would do it. Oh no, you leave those people alone. Ooh, saved them. No, you leave that person alone. Don't turn him into an alien. Oh. Oh. Man, I used to like to do this. I would shoot the people at the bottom, and then it becomes like everything gets destroyed. The planet like gets destroyed, and it becomes like this. Yeah. No, you have to kill all the people. I'm gonna have to start over. Wait, I'll do it now. There. If you kill all the people, basically everyone on the planet gets turned into an alien. or killed, and then the planet gets destroyed, and it's, I guess, yeah, there it is. And now it gets really hard. See, and there's really no way to escape those. But yeah, that's Defender. Oh, here's something interesting. Gremlins. Now, this is once again during the video game crash, and it was really hard to find Atari 5200 games at the time. So I ordered an Atari brochure through the mail, and you know, the typical games are on it, but then on the bottom it said Gremlins, and I had no idea this game even existed. I'm not even sure if it was released. Maybe it was, but in limited run. But anyway, I had to buy it. I ordered it from the brochure, and new controllers, of course, because they broke. So yeah, Gremlins. Basically what you have to do in this game is rescue the Mogwais and stop them from eating. Yeah, you can freeze them. See, he just ate that one, and he turned into one of the mean gremlins. Make sure to get the food before they do. Wait, now I gotta grab, I have to open the cage. There. Put him there. You have to hurry up before the night, before it becomes morning. And I just made it. Yeah, and it goes on like that, and it gets harder. I don't know how many nights there are. There's a lot. I remember when I was younger, I made it to night 30, I think. But yeah, it goes on like that. Pretty good game. Nothing remarkable. It's just interesting there was a Gremlins game at that time. Oh, Jungle Hunt. It's another game I love. I don't know why I always love this game. Maybe because it's like a jungle adventure. And you know, Tomb Raider, if many of you don't know, is like my favorite game of all time. The original 1996 Tomb Raider. And I've just always liked like archaeology and, you know, the whole you know, the exploring tombs and natives and all that stuff. I don't know, I just always fascinated by it. So this game was very appealing at the time. And plus Raiders of the Lost Ark had come out and everything, so this was like, ooh, I used to, you know, pretend he was like an archaeologist. But yeah, that's Jungle Hunt, which was of course Jungle King, but that's another story. And oh, of course, Mountain King. Now this may be my favorite Atari 5200 game of all time. It's definitely one of my favorite old school games at the time. I made it to the top of the mountain a few times when I was younger, and I recently made it to the top on the Commodore 64 version, which is a better version, but I haven't made it to the top of the mountain in this one in a long time. But yeah, I think I told you guys the story of this game, where of course I came home from school and my sibling was cleaning, and basically I saw the game on the floor all torn apart, and the dog had the game in its mouth, the circuitry, what was inside. And my sister said, oh, I didn't notice, and I just went ballistic that day. I went crazy. I used to think maybe she did it because I wrote on her doll and she wanted revenge, but you know, I don't think you could plan that out. I really think she just didn't notice or care either. And I was so upset. I chased her around the house. It was a mess. It's like, imagine if your favorite game is destroyed. It was just anyway, in this game you gotta collect the diamonds, of course, and then find the invisible flame, then get the crown, and then run to the top, and you get to hear the Mountain King song. Here's the music. You find the fire with the flashlight, the flame. There it is. No, wait, wasn't it there? Did I just not see it? Oh, there it is. Then you kneel, and I'm not going to make it to the top, but whoa. Then you kneel down here. Wait, Now you go up here, and the bats will try to get the crown from you at all costs. And it is so annoying. And now all you have to do is make it to the top of the mountain, and the race is on. Here we go. And make sure those... there's a spider down here. You don't want to fall. Anyway. So you want to make it to the top of the mountain. And you don't want those bats to take the crown away from you. And they are annoying. Not annoying as jumping. Whoa! It's actually good I fell there. You only have a limited amount of time. I'm not gonna make it. It's taking too long. This is so annoying. I don't think that's the top of the mountain though. This is the top of the mountain over here. So yeah, that's Mountain King. Of course there's Pac-Man. This isn't the greatest port of Pac-Man, but after the terrible port of Pac-Man on the 2600, yeah, this was like a blessing, this game. This game looked wonderful. I believe this is just the Atari 800 port, because the Atari 5200 is based on the Atari 800 architecture, so it's not... It wasn't like the Atari 5200 was like some brand new system Atari made. They basically just took the Atari 800 and turned it into a console. So a lot of the games on 800 could easily be ported over to the... In fact, some have an emulation, like Donkey Kong never came out for the Atari 5200, but they just took the 800 version and then just turned it into a 5200 game. So yeah, this is a great pack where it's got all the intermissions and everything. It's complete. The ghosts aren't flickering. It's got all the colors. It gets the job done. Oh, Robotron. This is another great arcade port. Basically, you have to save the people from the aliens. This is pretty good to control here because if you use an Xbox controller, you just use the right analog stick to shoot by pointing it in the direction you want, and it works really well. You know, the original brought that thing that held the two controllers together. Whenever you get the people in this game, you see that sound, do do do, do do do. It always reminds me of that Paul McCartney song, "Live and Let Die." Do do do, do do do, do do do, do do do, do 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 do, do do do, do do do, do do do. Oh. And there goes that. Oh, here's a Rescue on Fractalus, the game I was talking about that has the first jump scare. That early Lucasfilm logo. This game really was ahead of its time. I mean, it was like No Man's Sky. For the time, like in the 80s, they really went out on it. It's like they did something you really didn't think they would be able to do on the 5200. I mean, look at this. You land on a planet. Look at this. This is pretty amazing. You go through the atmosphere. Look at this. Now, I'm not going to be able to play this game very well because you need the numeral numbers, and I don't know if it can be done here. But basically, you would land and pick up people, rescue people, and shoot the aliens. Pretty ambitious for the time. You also have to collect fuel. Very ambitious. Super Breakout, which was the pack-in game. Star Raiders, another game I loved. Oh, Moon Patrol. This was a good, pretty good arcade port. That music. The jump and shooting button are reversed here, so it's confusing me. Okay, where are the aliens? I like the parallax scrolling in the background. Pretty cool for the time. Okay, okay. Whoa! You'll never get me! Yes, you will. Okay. Oh, Miner 2049er. Now, this is a game I got because Christmas morning, my uncle got me one of those Velcro wallets from the 80s. If you grew up in the 80s, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It was a red Velcro wallet, and when I opened it, there was $10 inside. So it was a good day. 10 bucks was a lot back then. So with those 10 bucks, I went to Kmart and I bought Miner 2049er, having really no idea what it was like. Turns out it's one of the best games on Atari 5200 because it has 10 different levels and it's challenging. Basically, you have to color this floor. You can collect those for points. Once you collect those, you can kill the monsters. Gotta be careful jumping in this game though, because you can't fall from great heights. So if you get that, now I can eat them. Crazy sounds in this game. Seems a little tedious right now, but believe me, this was fascinating back then. And then you finish the level. Oh, you don't have to get all the guys. You can. Now I think they introduce slides. You can go down a slide. So basically, if I get this, I can do this. Get them quicker. When you hit an enemy or watch what happens or fall. Well, not exactly when you fall, but watch what happens when you hit an enemy. If you had your volume up, that used to always scare me. So basically, if you fall from, I'll show you, Aj. See that? For some reason, that counts as a kill. Yeah. Yeah, it's similar to Donkey Kong. You can't fall from a great height. So, Countermeasure. That's an interesting game. Definitely worth looking at. Basically, this game's about nuclear war, and what you have to do is control this little tank and not get hit by these turrets. Thankfully, their bullets don't only go a certain. There you go. Basically, you have to get to that rocket, and the tank over there is a fuel tank for your fuel. I got him. Okay. The sucky part is you go really slow when you go over these parts. Okay, got him. Now this one, I forgot how you get the code, but there's a code. There's like secrets that tell you about a code. Once you get the code, you can stop the nuclear holocaust from happening. But I don't have the code right now. But I'm gonna try and go into the rocket right now. There you go. So now basically you have to put in the code before the world ends, basically. So right now, see where it says enter failsafe code? You would put the code, but you have to use the numeral numbers, which, oh, okay, the numeral codes here are, well, they're not numeral, they're actually letters. You have to spell something, but yeah. Anyway, I don't want it to happen because I want to show you what happens when it actually happens. You get treated to, well, you'll see. Oh no, a pirate skull. This was pretty cool back then to have graphics like that. Yeah, that's countermeasure. Let's check out the other games, more of the games. There's the Donkey Kong I was telling you about. It's actually, I don't think it was ever released for 5200. It's just the 800 version ported to the 5200. So basically this is what it would have looked like had it been on the Atari 5200. It's not a bad port, but it's still not as good as the ColecoVision port, which was the competition of the 5200 back then. It's not bad. I would have liked it if it had come out back then. But yeah, as you can see, the Atari 5200 collection is pretty awesome. It's not that as many games as you think, but yeah, it's a system I grew up with, and I'm very nostalgic for it. A lot of people dismiss it because of the controllers, but the games are actually great. I think, if I'm not wrong, they've actually fixed the controller. These days you can order the inside, the I don't know what it's called, but the circuitry inside, you can reorder it and you can fix it. And I even think some people sell like already made, like it's remade the controller to work well and not break. So it's really a good system to collect for, and I highly recommend it to anybody who's never tried the Atari 5200 to give it a chance. One of the best games on the system also is Mega Mania. So I'll show you that one. This game was also on 2600, but it's not as good, in my opinion. This game is great and gets more challenging as it goes on. It gets really fast. My sibling and I were so addicted to this game. That looks like Chipwich, those chocolate with ice cream in the middle, or a marshmallow sandwiches. That's really not fair. Well, let's see. I think that about covers it. I think you got an idea of what the Atari 5200 is all about. Before I leave, I just want to say thanks to everybody for 3,000 subs. I really appreciate all the support, and I really love all the nice kind words for the bezels I make, and you know, it takes a while to make them, and it's awesome, and I love doing it for you guys. And okay, I just wanted to get that out of the way, and I'll probably make more of these videos because I've owned a lot of consoles in my life, so and tell stories about each console and everything about it. But I wanted to start with this one because this one has a special place for me in my memories. And so yeah, all right, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell to get notified, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.